Hello everyone, first video on the channel. The entertainer is here, and I wanted to make this first video. I was thinking about what topic I want to talk about here, and I'll be talking about why AEW is good and necessary for wrestling in 2025. And just in case, a disclaimer, just in case you don't like my accent or some shit, just know that English is my third language, so if I make mistakes here and there, you know it already. Now, why AEW is good? I came up with reasons why AEW is good and necessary for wrestling in 2025. And let's start with the first reason. Wrestlers getting opportunities to shine. Let me give you an example. A bunch of examples, actually. Swerve Strickland, Darby Allin, Hangman Page, Jon Moxley, MJF. Those are all guys who shined under the AEW umbrella and who didn't get a chance to make it somewhere else, or maybe they had a chance somewhere else but they were not utilized well, or something went wrong for them. So now AEW is a fresh start for a lot of wrestlers in the world of wrestling in 2025. Right? You get wrestlers like MJF. Imagine that we would have never had MJF if it wasn't for AEW. He would have been maybe stuck in the independent circuit till now basically. And a guy like Hangman. I never heard of Hangman before AEW. I heard about the work of the Young Bucks. I heard about Kenny Omega and the work Cody was doing outside WWE. I heard of the work Chris Jericho was doing in outside WWE, but I never heard of Hangman. So he was a breath of fresh air for a guy like me to see such a character. And I never seen someone like Hangman before. I've never seen someone go through the story that Hangman went through in the Hangman saga in the first 3 years of AEW, in that long ass storyline of the Hangman saga, right? Imagine that I would have never gotten the chance to see a guy like Hangman. Another guy like Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland was sidelined in WWE. It's not that he was misutilized, it's that they didn't see something in him in the first place, probably. They did not plan for him to be a big star for them in the future, right? But in AEW, this guy turned into an absolute star. One last example. And the examples are endless. Of course, there are wrestlers who AEW fumbles from time to time, like Malachi Black and Miro, but there are wrestlers who also revive their careers in AEW, and one of these wrestlers is Christian Cage. Imagine that if Christian Cage didn't sign with AEW, we would have never had this gimmick of Father of the Year. His best work in the entire career came in his 50s. And I'm a guy who always saw Edge as more of a star because Edge was just utilized better and he always seemed more important. But with this run of Christian Cage in AEW, his last run, he changed my mind about him. He changed my mind. I get the hype behind Christian now. I fucking love Christian now. Now, another reason for why AEW is necessary for the world of wrestling in 2025 is the style of wrestling in AEW. So I'm gonna explain this so that you would understand, right? Back in the day, I had a very different idea of what a 5-star match means. For example, in 2018, 2019, you give me a match like Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy in WWE standards, that could be a 5-star match. That could be a 5-star match in WWE standards. But AEW introduced me to something totally different when it comes to matches, because now you see crazy ass matches that you never imagined you would see. Matches like Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega, matches like Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson, Swerve Strickland versus whoever else, Will Ospreay versus Darby Allin, and Kenny Omega and Hangman versus the Young Bucks, which I think is the greatest match in history. That's the best match I've ever saw in my entire life. But I'm gonna make a video about that before you come at me. I'm gonna make a video about that. So AEW introduces you to a very different style and something totally new. They're literally the wrestlers in AEW are allowed to go all out. They're allowed to take risks. They're allowed to pull the most dangerous moves. They're allowed to go all out inside that ring. So this is something else as well, because in case someone who loves crazy in-ring action, you can go to AEW to see the craziest in-ring action basically in the world, because AEW is a mix of every style. Now, reason number 3. AEW needs to exist and needs to thrive, because if they don't, WWE gets too complacent, and we already saw that in 2024 when people turned against AEW and started everyone is supporting Triple H and no one calls him out for his crap. We had to deal with that garbage. We had to deal with these trash shows ever since WrestleMania 40. Except maybe for Bad Blood and SummerSlam, you know. The shows ever since WrestleMania 40 were garbage. I gotta be honest. I'm sorry. I need to be honest, and this is something I can promise you on this channel. Is that I will always say what I think, and I think WWE was garbage ever since WrestleMania 40. I think one of the main reasons why is because people are not calling out Triple H. People are not telling him that you're doing this the wrong way. It's just sad, man. It's just sad. And I stopped watching SmackDown recently. I cannot watch SmackDown anymore. I cannot watch SmackDown. But if AEW is in a good place, then they can push Triple H and they can push WWE to work hard enough. To work hard so that we're literally, imagine, we would literally get 4 great weekly shows every week. Dynamite, Collision, Raw, SmackDown. Imagine if all of these shows were good. That would be crazy for a wrestling fan. And I didn't mention NXT because I don't watch NXT, so I don't think I'm qualified to talk about it. We'll talk about that in another video as well. Now, the last reason on why AEW is necessary for the world of wrestling in 2025 is that they added this new concept to wrestling of jumping ship. Because back in the day, of course, there are wrestlers who used to leave WWE, but most of them wouldn't leave by choice. Most of them would leave if they get their ass fired, right? But now they have this new option. This new big company, big wrestling company, the number 2 promotion in the world right now, they can go to that place and re-explore themselves, right? They can go and create a new career for themselves if they don't like what's going on with them in WWE. For example, a guy like Bobby Lashley did that, right? And this concept of jumping ship creates a lot of amazing moments, right? Because if you came to me in late 2023, for example, and told me that in 2024, Ricochet, Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, Mercedes Moné, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP are all going to make their debut in AEW, I'd be like, fuck man, give me that. Give me that shit. I want to see those crazy moments. I want to hear those pops, you know. So we're getting more of these moments because we have a new big wrestling company. And now to the last reason, I forgot to add this, to the last reason on why AEW is necessary for the wrestling business in 2025 is now we have options. And let me explain here what I mean. What I mean by we have options now is now, for example, if both shows, if you have a WWE show and an AEW show airing at the same time, I'd be choosing one of them if I don't like, for example, let's say I don't like, I don't know, for example, yesterday, Saturday night's main event was on air. At the same time, Collision was on air, right? So what I did, I wasn't interested in Saturday night's main event, so I went and watched Collision, even though I rarely watch Collision. But I went and watched Collision, and it turned out to be a great show, and I didn't regret it. You know, I didn't regret watching Collision or wasting my time or like spending my time on Collision. And I'm thankful for that. And I went later and saw what happened at the Saturday night. I just saw on YouTube some reviews and shit to know what happened, and nothing remarkable happened. So I'm happy I went and watched Collision. And now you have that option. You have that option. If you don't like this show, you can watch that show. And that's all basically. This is the first video on the channel. Support me for more shit. And I don't want you to get it wrong, because this is not a exclusive pro wrestling channel. I'm gonna be talking about wrestling, sometimes video games, sometimes anime, sometimes movies and TV shows and shit. But a lot of videos are gonna be about wrestling. I'm gonna make a lot of wrestling videos. Don't expect any great editing as well, because I'm probably not gonna be making money out of this channel. So I'm just here to have fun. I'm just here to speak my opinion on certain things. And yeah, that's basically all. I'll see you guys in the next video.